Episode number 25, The Return of Mark Kumming. Gather up the kids and the old folks. Shut down the contraptions and dim the lights. Put away your pocket-sized magic lantern shows. Close your eyes and listen. It's time to strike off on the paths less traveled, down dark trails through the hills and hollers, along the riverbanks and into the brush. Hear tales of things forgotten get told. Join me as we venture into the wild and woolly Ozarks. I'm your native guide and host, Champ Heron. Welcome back, gentle people. Thank you for once again finding your way to our front porch. It's a cool breeze tonight, and got more rain coming in. And so pull up a chair there and rest yourself. We've got quite the story for you tonight. Many of you enjoyed and commented and sent us questions regarding Mark Kumming's last episode, and then we started soliciting questions and got even more. When I listened to it myself, which I did again just this afternoon to make sure I had it clear in my head what I wanted to talk to Mark about, ended up with realizing I'd left some parts out that I really wanted to talk about. And some of you have came up with, different things as well. There are questions tonight about legends. There's questions about rides that we didn't cover last time. There is, and you can probably hear me typing, there's questions about maybe some things that you've heard online. Maybe Mark's going to clue us in, give us a little more. I'm proud, once again, to have Mark Kumming join us. And Mark is a writer. He is a employee of Silver Dollar City, going back to the early days. He is also published in a multitude of journals, magazines, newsletters, online, offline. Only thing he hasn't done is, been headlined an action movie, a big blockbuster action movie, and he's still got plenty of lifespan left. Mark is a delight to visit with. He's a delight to talk to. We have wonderful conversations off the podcast, too. And Mark's got a couple of books out there and a couple of things he's going to unpack tonight. So if you have experienced the Facebook group, Oh Little Town of... I said it wrong last time. That was another thing that just annoyed me. How do you say it, Mark?
Well, it's a little town of Merimosa.
Merimosa.
I've never been sure about that. It's a Greek word that means marble.
Well, I think I called it Merimosa.
Oh, it could be.
Like them Merimosa trees I got growing in my yard. At any rate.
Yeah, go ahead.
At any rate, Mark, welcome back to the wild and woolly Ozarks. You're now a two-timer, which entitles you to wear the blazer crest on your jacket pocket from now on. We'll get that to you in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got it done. It's of the ball knobbers whipping a fellow. It's very attractive.
It sounds like
conversation starter.
Well, just as a quick reminder, I'm also the co-administrator of SDC Fans, which is a group Facebook page. And you want to know something about Silver Dollar City, check out SDC Fans. and you're bound to find it. We talk about the old days at Silver Dollar City. We talk about what's going on the park currently. We encourage people to post photographs, and we have a pretty good time. It's a fan operated Facebook page. And in regards to my employment with Silver Dollar City, I worked out there between 1978 and 1984 in both the foods and the attractions department, working at a lot of different rides and shows and so forth. And so I can clue you in on some of the early days of the 70s and the 80s in Silver Dollar City. And I'll try to talk a little bit about some of the things that are more current at the park. There's a big group of fans, thousands of people in Southwest Missouri and across the country who are interested in this park. And, I can throw in my 2 cents on whatever topics you want to discuss. So throw a good question at me and we'll get started.
Well, so a couple of the questions involve the origin of of the of the name Silver Dollar City, which is sort of a takeoff on the Yoakum Dollar. I understand that, but one specific question from a gentleman in Springfield, Missouri, said, "Is one of the cabins, one of the ones they moved on Park, the cabin that supposedly they dug up the bucket full or the kettle full of Yoakum dollars?"
Okay. The short answer is no. As far as I know, that is not the case. Let me give you a little bit of background on the Yoakum Silver Dollar legend. This is one of those lost treasure legends in the Ozarks that is well known in southeast Missouri. So let me go ahead and give you a quick recap, the nickel version of that legend, real
Sure.
quick, and then we'll keep going. Uh, Allegedly, according to the legend of the lost silver dollars of the Yokums, the Yokum family moved to Stone County, Missouri, and settled in the vicinity of the junction of the White and James Rivers back in the 1840s. Now, this was pretty early as far as the pioneers go in the Southwest Missouri Ozarks. And so, when the Yokum family moved in to the area, there were still a number of Native Americans living in the area. And so the Yokums, as you naturally would do back then, they made friends with the local Indians. And they would trade with one another, trade horses, they trade blankets, they would trade, other goods and so forth. And so the local Indians and the Yokum family became pretty tight. There was a big network of Native Americans in that area that they knew, and they all got along real well. And the Yoakum family back in the 1840s noticed that a lot of these Indians more beautiful silver jewelry. And from time to time, the Yokums would ask the Indians, "Where do you get the silver for that jewelry?" And the Indians were a little evasive. They didn't really give the Yokums any direct answers. So it was kind of a big question. Well, time passed, and it was time for the U.S. government to move the Indians out of the area and on westward. And so, right before the last of the Indians in the area took off, the Yokums did some horse trading with them and said, "If you'll tell us the source of your silver here locally, we'll go ahead and give you this, that, and the other." And so they did a lot of trading with the Indians, and the local Indians showed them a cave that had allegedly had a vein of silver in it, and that cave allegedly is in Stone County in the Branson West area. So anyway, the Indians moved out, and the Yoakum family built a small log cabin over the entrance of this cave that had the vein of silver in it, so that they could conceal and protect the cave from any intruders. And back in those days, in the 1840s, uh, money was scarce in the Ozarks. And so the Yokums decided they would mint their own silver dollars and use the silver dollars for trading in Southwest Missouri. Well, that went okay for a few years. But then some farmer, went up to Springfield to pay his taxes, and the U.S. government got a Yoakum silver dollar or two, and they started asking questions. And this was, there was a period of time in the U.S. when it wasn't against the law to mint your own money, but now we were getting into a period of time where the U.S. government was trying to control that stuff and be the only one who officially minted coins in the U.S. Official trading, money coins. And so they actually, the government sent somebody down to see the Yokums in Stone County and asked them, hey, please quit making the silver dollars. And the Yokums actually agreed to it. Shortly thereafter, one of the Yoakum brothers, James Yoakum, I believe it was, he passed away. And this was now the late 1840s, and gold fever was now underway in California. And the Yoakum family packed it up, and a lot of them moved on out to California to become 49ers and try their luck out west. Well, over time, they didn't tell anybody here, in Southwest Missouri locally, where their silver mine was, and they just took off. And over time, the location was lost to time. Well, over the years, including here in the mid to late 20th century, some of these Yoakum silver dollars were found in different places around Stone and Taney counties.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a famous story is back about 1983. Somebody alleged that they found some of the dyes that the Yokums actually used. And there was a period of time in the 1990s where you could get a reproduction Yoakum silver dollar in Stone and Taney counties in some of the tourist shops.
They look different from the ones that they've recovered here recently.
Yeah, maybe.
That are now, excuse me, I've got a little frog in my throat, but they look so much, the ones that I have seen floating around, I haven't touched one. My nephew has. He sent me some pictures too. But they look so crude compared to those reproductions. So it kind of casts some doubt on whether that was really the mold. It looks like to me these are stamped with a cold chisel.
Yeah, I have not seen those, so I can't say anything either way. It is possible that there's some fraudulent reproductions floating around that I don't know.
No, they were selling them around. I mean, there was a tourist, you could buy a Yoakum dollar at Silver Dollar City at one point.
Oh, I see.
It was made out of like bronze or something. It wasn't silver.
That's something I wasn't even aware of. But anyway, that's the basic Yoakum Silver Dollar legend. Now, how that ties into Silver Dollar City history is back in 1975-76, Silver Dollar City was looking for somebody to come in and work on some attraction ideas for the park. And Jack Hershent happened to be at an amusement park gathering in 75, and he ran into a fellow named Tom Riedenbach. And Tom Riedenbach used to be one of the Imagineers that worked for Disney in Florida. And in fact, he and a small group of architects back in the early 70s were the ones who built the Magic Kingdom in Florida. But in 75, Tom Riedenbach had broken away from Disney, and he had his own company. And he was throwing out theme park rides at different parks around the country. Well, Jack Hershon ran into him and said to Tom, "Come on up to Silver Dollar City, take a look at Branson, take a look at our theme park." And he said, "We're an 1880s Ozark Mountain Village theme, and we theme all of our rides and attractions on various aspects of Ozark history."
Mhm.
So in '76, Tom Riedenbach came on up, took a look around Branson, took a look around Silver Dollar City, and he came up with a great idea to do an attraction, a very early simulation attraction called Rube Dugan's Diving Bell. And
Which, folks, if you want the story more on Rube Dugan's Diving Bell, Mark was here for episode 16 or 15, whatever it was, and he goes into that then as well. But go ahead.
Right, I'll try to make it.
No, you're fine. Just keep going. I'm just saying, tell people to go, and there's more. We have more on this if you're interested.
Right, exactly. Anyway, Tom Riedenbach came up with the idea of using the legends of lost treasure in the Ozarks as the theme for Rube Dugan's Diving Bell. And the Yoakum Silver Dollar legend was probably one of the key true legends that were used to form the theme for the diving bell ride. Now, the theme that he came up with was that Grandpappy Dugan, an imaginary Silver Dollar City citizen, found a gold or found silver in a mine cave at Silver Dollar City, and he amassed quite a fortune. But then the rains of 1820 came and flooded out the mine and created Lake Silver that we all are aware of, on the back end of the park. And that a generation later, Rube Dugan, Grandpappy's relative, invented a diving bell or a submarine to go under the waters of Lake Silver to retrieve the silver. So that basically is how the Yoakum Silver Dollar legend ties into Silver Dollar City and the diving bell theme. Um, Much like the with Fire in the Hole, the Bald Knobbers burning down mining town once stood there on the location of Silver Dollar City, became the backstory for Fire in the Hole.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the backstory on the Yoakum Silver Dollar and Silver Dollar City.
Yeah. Well, so when did they come up with the name Silver Dollar City versus Marvel Cave theme park?
Oh, well, of course, from 50 to 60, and on into the early 60s, since the cave was the main attraction out there,
Right.
they called the park Marvel Cave Park. But when 59 rolled around and they were talking about putting a little mountain village around the entrance to Marvel Cave to give tourists something to do while they waited for their cave tour, um, they knew that they only had a limited amount of money. And so they had to call somebody in who could assist them in publicity and promotion. And there was a fellow who was named Don Richardson, who was a publicist. He was a publicist for the Ozark Jubilee TV show in Springfield, Missouri. And they invited him to come down to Marble Cave Park and help promote this mountain village that they were going to put together. And they built it over the winter of 59 and opened it in May of 60. And Don suggested calling it Silver Dollar City. And the Herson family said, "Well, why that name?" And Don Richardson said, "What we'll do is we'll give everybody who shops in our shops change in the form of silver dollars, and they'll carry those big old heavy silver dollars in their pockets as they go home. They're going to stop and eat in restaurants. They're going to stop and get gasoline, and they're going to unload those silver dollars. And so the shopkeepers are going to say, "Where'd you get all those silver dollars?" And they're going to say, "Silver Dollar City." And so that was the reason why they named the park Silver Dollar City. It was free publicity.
That is so simple and elegant.
It really, really is. And
Wow.
so that's the origin of the name of the park.
Okay. And then they leaned into the Yoakum aspect of it later.
Yeah, the connection with lost treasure in connection with the diving bell did not occur until the mid 70s.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
there's the only historical buildings that they have on the park would be Bertle's Cabin and the McAfee Homestead, and
Uh-huh.
then the Wilderness Church, which used to be a schoolhouse, and they converted it into the church. And I think most of the other buildings on the park were actually made by park employees over the years.
Yeah.
If you go to see the leather craft building, that was a single story dog trot log building, and the apple butter cabin that's up there on the Main Street area was built in the early 1980s. They
Uh-huh.
used to have an apple butter cabin down across from where the American Plunge is, and over time that rotted out, and they had to replace that. And so they moved apple butter up to Main Street. Also, their Oak Trail Schoolhouse was a log building that they had down where the furniture factory is now. Of course, the modern version of the Oak Trail Schoolhouse is behind the Wilderness Church. So a lot of the other hewn log buildings on the park and the hewn log buildings at the Silver Dollar City Campground have been made since 1960 by some of the park employees.
Okay. So, did anything happen like I understand the cave and the little mining town up front and all, but is there any other historical significance on the park or anything that happened before?
Well, originally started to lay out the plans for Silver Dollar City about 59, 60. Something really unusual happened. They had a traveling salesman come through the area, and I've forgotten the gentleman's name, but he actually was a kid who had grown up right there in the Notch, the Missouri vicinity where Silver Dollar City is. And he knew where the foundations for some of the original buildings that were built in the 1880s and 1890s that comprised the town of Merimost were located. The blacksmith shop is
Uh-huh.
built right on the same foundation of the blacksmith shop that was there in the 1890s.
No kidding.
Really, yes. And this gentleman showed Jack Hershend around the cave property, and they arranged the Main Street area of Silver Dollar City partially in connection with the way the old town was laid out. But of course, what you see on the park now today is an idealized version of the 1880s Ozark.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's really interesting because I would have never thought about that. The where the blacks that was the case. So another question that we got is why didn't you talk about the flooded mine?
Oh, we just totally forgot that.
We forgot the flooded mine, the saloon show, and the train.
Oh, that's pretty easy to talk about. One of the rides that I did work at when I was an employee at the park, this would have been 79, 80, 81, was the flooded mine.
What year did it come, Mark?
It came about 67, 68. It was one of the first major rides that they built on the park. Now, if you're familiar with that area around the flooded mine and the current train depot and the big building that serves as the Christmas store now,
Mm-hmm.
That used to be a parking lot. And in the early 60s, uh, they had a gravel parking lot in that location, and people would cross over the swinging bridge and come on up to the Midtown, what they call the Midtown area now, and the town square. And that was where Silver Dollar City was. But as the park continued to grow, by the time they got into the mid to late 60s, they needed to reconfigure their parking and so forth. And so they built the parking lots on the other side of the hospitality house. They built the Ozark Marketplace, and they built the two-story building that has on the lower floor the ticket booths and on the upper floor their administration. And the parking lot was that area out there now where the trams turn around and drop people off. And then there was a parking area that led down the side of the main drive into Silver Dollar City. And that was the entire parking lot back in the late 60s. But then they took the old parking lot property and they built the flooded mine on it about 67, 68. And they built the big two-story building that's the Christmas store now used to be the Mountain Wood Carver shop. And they built the train depot was actually there already. And then they paved it all up. So like I said, the flooded mine was one of the first major rides that they built on the park, and this just shows you good old-fashioned Ozark ingenuity. Um, the maintenance and construction department built that ride pretty much from scratch. Now, believe it or not, the theme park industry in America is a pretty small and close-knit community. If Six Flags in Texas wanted to come up and look at some of the rides that Silver Dollar City has, Silver Dollar City would welcome them with open arms and say, "Come on, we'll take you back behind the scenes and show you the ride. If you want to do something on a similar ride down on your park, that would be just fine. Just theme it somehow differently." Of course, Six Flags would do that. And when they built the flooded mine, I'm sure that they sent a team of people to another theme park to see how to build the channels and how to build the boats and so forth. But I do believe that the vast majority of the work on the flooded mine was done in-house by Silver Dollar City Maintenance and Construction. And I mean, after all these years, we're talking 50 plus years, that building is still there and it's still operational. So they obviously did a great job. But, of course, it's the flooded mine is a dark ride. You ride through it, and you see little scenes along the way. And over the years, the scenes have been tweaked a little bit, but for the most part, it's very similar to the ride that was there in about 68. When I worked there in the late 70s and early 80s, it was a real fun attraction to work at. One thing, because we were indoors and that loading platform for the flooded mine was air conditioned, and it was kind of nice in the hot summertime back then to be inside in an air conditioned building that was kind of dark.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was enjoyable because we had a very small crew of about three other guys. During a typical workday back then, there'd only be anywhere from 2 to 4 people working there, and everybody was pretty tight crew, and we were all pretty comfortable with one another. But the cool thing about the flooded mine is there are all kinds of secret passageways and catwalks and so forth. So maintenance and construction can go in and make repairs and change light bulbs and so forth. Or a little break area for the employees that work there. You have to go up a catwalk and back to a secret room that overlooks the channel. You can actually sit up in the break room up there and at a little table and eat your lunch sandwich and look down at the people going by. And I always thought that was kind of cool because we were hiding in plain sight, but because the way the lighting situation is in those dark tunnels, nobody could see us watching while we were eating.
Huh. So the flooded mine in my lifetime has gone from it was a animatronic kind of deal uh, of these prisoners once again leaning into the silver mine legend, and that they had convict, I guess make convict labor fun. And so it was one of my favorite rides as a kid, because that saw blade always scared me.
Right.
Coming off. But then they did something when I was probably 13 or 14. They added laser tag to it.
Right.
And in my opinion, and then the stuff never really worked right. You couldn't keep score. And I thought that probably took away from it.
Well, I understand how you feel. I kind of felt the same way myself. But what they do with their rides and attractions from time to time is they try to tweak them in some
Sure.
way to make things different or fresh or whatever. And that was their way of tweaking that ride. So it's now the shootout at the flooded mine. And the thing is, sometimes those effects work and sometimes they don't. Uh,
I just didn't really think that was an upgrade worth keeping. I thought you could have probably rotated it, or maybe, I don't know. I didn't think the interactive component of it was that impressive. Not, I don't give them credit for trying. I get it. You've got to keep it fresh. But I always thought that was that was just always sort of a disappointment. I guess you still shoot when you go through there.
Sure, yeah. There's a very divided feeling on those guns. The old timers like myself remember the ride when it was a pure dark attraction, and now the people who were in their 20s and 30s and 40s remember, the shootout aspect. And I know that Silver Dollar City polls its guests very, very actively. And if they got enough negative attitude, they would change something. They would pull that out. But I'm assuming that most of the people who go through the ride probably don't even know what it used to be. And so they're satisfied with the way it is. I will say this, that building is old, old, old now. Like I said, it was built in 67, 68.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes these rides do need a little TLC. A lot of people say the same thing about the American Plunge needing some TLC from time to time, and I get it. And well, I'll tell you what, we could dive into the deep end of the pool regarding how theme parks maintain their attractions and how they pay for new attractions. It's changed a lot over the years. Uh, but they have only, believe it or not, as much as they charge for admission, they only have a limited amount of money that they can budget every year for different things around the park, because a lot of the cost that they have on the park, and the reason why the prices are high to get in as compared to what they were, say, in 75, is the expensive nature of the new attractions. It cost them $30 million to put the new fire in the hole in a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The diving bell ride that I was talking about a short while ago was built in the winter of 75, 76, and it was one of the most advanced simulation attractions in theme parks at that time. They built that for $1.2 million.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I imagine if you adjusted for today's inflation, that 1.2 million for the diving bell then would probably come out to the 30 million they paid for the new fire in the hole a few years ago. But whenever you put in a big roller coaster, and they're building something that appears to be a roller coaster between Powder Keg and Powder Keg and oh, I can't remember the other name now. Wildfire.
Yeah, Wildfire.
Yeah, they're building a new attraction there that appears to be a roller coaster. And, uh, it's not done in house as much. Some of the work is done in house, but a lot of times, Silver Dollar City and other theme parks now rely on going to these big corporations that build rides internationally for theme parks, and those rides cost millions and millions of dollars.
Sure.
So, I mean, I see a lot of complaints from time to time about how Silver Dollar City has changed over the years. It doesn't have some of the things that it had when we were all kids, and people miss that, and I understand that. However, you have to think of any theme park as essentially a shopping center or a shopping mall with rides. If a theme park is not making money,
Mm-hmm.
they're losing money, and no business can operate at a deficit.
Well, if they'd never changed Silver Dollar City, it wouldn't be there today.
Right, exactly.
It's just very simple. It wouldn't
If
have.
it was this, yeah. If Silver Dollar City was exactly the way it was in 1967, they would have gone out of business years ago.
Yeah, probably.
Frankly.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get me wrong. I miss the old stagecoach ride. I miss the Jim Owen float trip
Sure.
ride. I miss Herman the Hermit's treetop house. But when you go from having about 1 million people a year go through the park like they did in the 70s, and now present day 2.2 million, certain attractions have to go because you cannot move 2.2 million people through a stagecoach ride.
No, there's no way.
So they had to move to rides that had a much bigger capacity for the number of people that come through nowadays.
One of the rides that's a staple and that's been there from early on is the train.
Yes.
So, I mean, riding the train at Silver Dollar City is an experience. I don't know that the hold-up script has changed a whole lot. Why don't you take us through when they put the train in? And I know it's a special type of train because it's a different size than like a regular. Why don't you take us through that?
Sure. I am not an expert on the train, but if you ever go to the park and if you want to talk to one of the train engineers, or you want to talk to one of the conductors while you're waiting for the train to roll through and you're up there at the train depot, they can give you a deep, detailed history of the ride. What I can do is give you an overview. The train ride is one of the earliest rides they had on park. It went in initially in the fairly early 60s, probably about 63, 64. And Pete Hershend found a steam engine that had been used somewhere on the East Coast, and they put it on the back end of a flatbed trailer and hauled it back to Silver Dollar City. And the Silver Dollar City maintenance and construction crew had to rebuild that initial engine from the ground up.
Wow.
And so they started with one train on a narrow track. And because of the hills and grade along the railroad track, they implemented the robbery simply because they were running out of steam and couldn't make it back to the depot. So what would happen is they would stage the robbery that would last about 10 or 15 minutes, and the steam engine could build up more steam, and therefore it was able to make it back around the track to the train depot.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yes, that's the origin of the train robbery. Now, of course, the trains that they use on park today are a little bit more upgraded, and some of them are a little bit bigger than the original engine. I don't know how many they've got now. At least 4 steam engines, and it might be up to 6. I can't I'm really not sure anymore. I'm really out of touch on that. But they have multiple steam engines, and they some days they only run one train all day long when the census on the park is not too big. But at other times, they might run two or even three trains, I believe, when the capacity on the park is much higher, like, 15, 20,000 people, they're going to run more than one train. I know in my day, back in the late 70s, early 80s, if it was a busy day, they ran two trains. If it was a slow day, they ran one train. But today, I mean, if you ever stand in line to get on that train, it's a
Oh, yeah.
so they may run on busy days three trains, maybe four. I'm not sure how many, but the crew on that train ride are trained in a lot of safety procedures because let's face it, even though it's a smaller gauge train, uh, it's a local train.
Yeah.
Amen. I think they actually, instead of burning wood or coal, I think they burn vegetable oil that comes out of the fryers on the park
Huh.
nowadays, if I'm not mistaken.
Because didn't it one time, do I remember them shoveling coal in that thing?
They may have, I believe they did either do wood or coal at one time. But, as the years have passed, they, of course, want to be more environmentally friendly, just like any
Yeah.
other big company. And at some point in the past, probably in the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, they switched those steam engines over to the cooking oil.
Okay.
And so, I mean, the park will make all the funnel cakes and the French fries and the fried pies, and they've got
Yeah. How many thousands of gallons of cooking oil a week do they? Sorry,
I couldn't tell you how many gallons they go through in a week, but anyway,
it's a bunch.
yeah, it's got to be. I mean, you're serving 2.2 million people in a year.
Well, I mean, you've got funnel cakes just by themselves, but then you have everything from the restaurants. Then you have the pork rinds. You have, I mean, all that stuff gets changed out every day.
Exactly, you're right. So, anyway, just to be more environmentally friendly, they switched things over to the used cooking oil at some point in the past. But
just to show you what a simpleton I am, I'm just fascinated now by the fact of how much cooking oil Silver Dollar City uses.
Right. Well,
it's like how many guys are there to sweep up cigarette butts?
Oh, we'll get into that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it is a city unto itself, really, because they've got to have their own waterworks and they've got to have electricity for all those Christmas lights every year, and so forth. But yeah, the actual layout for the train tracks hasn't really changed all that much in the last 60 years. The location of the train depot has changed a couple of times. The location of the train robberies has changed on a few occasions. But as the park has grown, they've had to move the robbery farther and farther out into what are woods so they can be isolated so people wouldn't be distracted from the train robbery with, a roller coaster behind it. Like when they go into Echo Hollow to see a show, you got Time Traveler going on back behind the stage there.
Yeah.
Anyway, the train has been a fan favorite of the park from day one, and that is one thing that you'll probably always see is a steam train at Silver Dollar City.
Well, I'll tell you, Mark, let's take a break here for a minute, and we're going to come back in a second, and we're going to talk about, I've got a funny story about the saloon show, and then I think we've got some more supernatural questions from the listeners on some different things. So, folks, hang on a minute and we'll be right back. We're back with Mark Kumming. We're going to continue our discussion about Silver Dollar City and about many of the things he's written about. Many of the tales you're hearing today can be found in Mark's book, which is also the title of this podcast, Every Hilltop, Every Hollow. It's a collection of different stories. I think he's already hit 3 or 4 today in there. So you want to read them in their completeness, so you need to check out Mark's book at Amazon. Is that right, Mark?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually have been writing books since about 2018. And this is going to sound crazy, but I have published this year, up to date, over 50 books.
Wow.
I have done a lot of stuff on Ozark's history, and I've done short stories, children's stories, poetry books, photography books. We're concerning ourselves right now with the Ozark history books. I've done quite a number of those.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the book that I sent you in the mail a few months ago, Every Hilltop and Every Hollow, it's called Tales, Legends, Lore Across the Ozarks. And what is contained in this book is uh, basically a collection of articles that I published in magazines and newspapers in the Ozarks region from about 2010 up to about 2024. And there are all kinds of wild and crazy stories in this book. We talk about legends like legends on that Yoakum Silver Dollar, other lost treasure tales. There's UFO tales that occurred in the Ozarks. There's outlaw tales about outlaws who roam the Ozark Hills. And there's ghost stories. And then we get into some of the folkways, like people who have worked as water witchers or maybe mountain medicine, and a whole lot of other topics about uh, legend and lore and across the Ozarks. And you can find this book on Amazon. Specifically, if you're interested in some of this history of Silver Dollar City that we've been talking about in these last couple of episodes, I have 2 books that deal directly with Rube Dugan's Diving Bell. The one that I did in 2020 is called Rube Dugan's Diving Bell, A History and Memoir of a Beloved Lost Silver Dollar City Attraction. It is a huge book with over 160 illustrations in it in full color. The book weighs over a pound, and I go into all the detail and personal stories of working at Rube Dugan's Diving Bell, which was a very beloved attraction on the park. And then in 2024, I released a smaller book called Rube Dugan's Diving Bell, An Illustrated History. It has all a good amount of the illustrations that were in the first book that I just talked about, and some new photographs that were not in the first book. It's more of a scaled down version of the diving bell book that I did in 2020. And it was done specifically as a cost saving measure. As I mentioned, the first diving bell book was in full color and weighs over a pound, and it includes all the stories and I mean, just everything, including the kitchen sink. And it has a kind of a high retail price because it was printed in color. The second diving bell book that I did, the Illustrated History, is only a quarter of the price of the original book, and it's just for budget conscious people who could not afford the more expensive book.
Are they both still available?
Yes, if you go to Amazon and type in my name, Mark Kumming, Kumming, and then behind my name put books, the entire list of the 40 or 50 books that I've done will pop up. And you'll want to specifically look for the diving bell books. I also did a book on the history of the Hee Haw Theater in Branson that operated between 81 and 83. I also was employed there, so I have a lot of good inside stories to share there. And then as far as Ozark's history, tales, legends, and so forth, is every hilltop, every hollow is a good one to get. I've also, in the last couple of years, done books on ghost stories. I'm currently working on a Lost Treasures book. I'm going to be working on an Outlaw Tales book later this summer. And I've done monster stories and I've done UFO stories, which I just find fascinating. So if you're interested in all kinds of unusual or even bizarre Ozark's history, you can check out those books at Amazon.
We encourage you to give Mark a look, and I think there's some great gift ideas there for the person, the Ozark-minded person in your life.
Yeah,
Ozarks-minded.
most of the books that I write, I try to keep very, very reasonable in terms of uh, retail price. Most of the books are going to be between 10 and $12. Now, the big diving bell book, like I said, in full color, everything in that book, including the kitchen sink, it has a high retail price of $40, and there was just no other way to not charge that amount because as an author, you have to pay for the cost of having a book printed, and then Amazon gets their cut, of course. That's what they're in business for. And then at the very tail, after all the expenses are paid, the author gets a few bucks. That's about it. But it has the high retail price because it's in full color and it's like over a pound in weight.
There you go. So if you don't read, you can use it as a weapon.
Yes, you probably could. You probably could. But I know that there are a significant number of people out there who remember this diving bell ride from years ago. And it was, like I said, it was one of the beloved attractions on the park. If you're interested in learning more, you can pick up one of those books. And if you're interested in some of the bizarre stuff like the ghost stories connected to Silver Dollar City, you'll find that in my ghost story book, or you'll find it in the Every Hilltop, Every Hollow book.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves because we've still gotta talk about sex. So as a child, I was given a $20 bill to take to Silver Dollar City, and I hadn't spent it, or maybe spent a little bit of it. And every time one of the saloon girls would go by, I'd throw another $1 and take another garter. I came home with a whole bunch of garters and no money.
Well, of course, you know, you got to talk about the saloon show, don't we?
Yeah, I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, like you, I was enthralled with that saloon show when I was a little teenage boy because you had all these great looking saloon gals out there and they would sell you a garter and you could pull it off their leg for $1.
Yeah.
That was the subject of a lot of daydreaming and teenage.
Yeah, and my mother's like, "Where's all your money?" I'm like, "I copped like 10 fields, Mom."
Right. Well, the origins of the saloon show go back to the early 1970s. The saloon show, well, actually, the original Fire in the Hole and the saloon show, saloon building, and the old, what now is a photo place, the old tintype shop.
Mm-hmm.
There was the old tintype shop was also part bookstore and print shop. Those three buildings were built about the same time, about 72, 73. And it was a new area of Silver Dollar City. Previously, that section of Silver Dollar City was part of the old Stagecoach Trail.
Uh-huh.
And as the crowds grew at Silver Dollar City, you know, in 72, the park would have been about 12 years old. They needed more attractions because the crowds were getting bigger. So they built the tintype shop and the bookshop. And then they built the saloon and Fire in the Hole and the old fireman's cemetery. And that was a new section of Silver Dollar City, about 72, 73. Well, the saloon show, of course, is one of the favorite shows on Park. And of course, it's a saloon that resembles like an old Wild West saloon with singing bartenders and dancing girls. And when you would go into the saloon, they'd be having a piano player and other musicians playing music as you came in to sit down. And the saloon girls and the bartenders would go around and take everybody's order for popcorn or peanuts or root beer or other cold drinks. And once everybody got seated and got some refreshments, they'd shut the doors and start the show. And the girls did all the high kicking up on the stage. And, the Silver Dollar City always likes to get their guests involved in the show in one way or the other. We jokingly called it guest participation or precipitation, is what we would say. Uh, but we would, the people at the Sloan show would get, they'd pull somebody out of the audience and bring them up on stage for a little gag. They also had saloon girls that would slip their dress over the top of somebody's, like a man's head, because it was kind of risque, but it was funny. And the saloon show has changed over the years. At first, it was Carrie Nation raiding the saloon and busting it.
Yeah.
They served demon rum. And then later on, Choctaw Charlie came in and they did a variety show type of show. I'm proud to say that one of the fellows who currently works in the saloon, he's been there for over 30 years as a part of the saloon crew. His real name is Bill Townsend. Bill was a drama teacher, I think at Nixon or one of the Southwest Missouri school districts for many, many years. And way back in the early days when Bill and I were both in college, we both were working at Rube Dugan's Diving Bell as the pilot of the Diving Bell. Our character name was Junior Dugan. And so we were the goofy pilots of the Diving Bell back in the day. Well, I went off to college and got involved in radio broadcasting. And Bill stayed in Southwest Missouri, got his teacher's degree, and was drama teacher at a school there in Southwest Missouri for decades, I think 30 years. And all that time during the summer breaks, he's been a part of the Silver Dollar City Saloon crew. And as far as I know, he's still active. Bill and I are now in we're in our mid 60s, and Bill is still one of the key cast members at the Silver Dollar Saloon. In fact, I think he might be the lead man at the saloon now. So next time you go down there to the saloon and see the show, you're going to see, I believe that the character he plays is Choctaw Charlie. It's the cowboy, I think, who wears like a silver uh, nose piece on his nose.
Okay.
But anyway, say hello to Bill. Tell him Mark said hello. I hadn't seen him in many years, but we occasionally correspond on the internet.
I don't know about the listeners out there, but I want to go on a tour of Silver Dollar City with Mark Kumming.
Well, you know what? Like any theme park, Silver Dollar City has a lot of hidden places.
Yeah.
The way they've designed all the buildings around the park, they all look like little, 1880s buildings. But the fact is, there are some pretty big structures on the park. And if you go and really pay attention next time, you'll see what I'm talking about. If you go to the general store and the little store they've got there next to it, uh, those are two shops on the front end. But if you walk around to where the Wagon Wheel or the Wagon Works restaurant is, that's all part of that same building. And if you go back around on the back side, you'll see a false front that says I think it says it's a lawyer's office. That's part of the same building. There's a door there that only employees are allowed to go in. And there's a trash compactor in there for the maintenance crew. And the people who sweep the streets have an office back there where nobody can see them. And then there's an employee restroom back there.
Yeah.
There's a kitchen for the Wagon Works restaurant. And that's all just a giant building, but you would never know it because it's built on the side of a hill, and there are like 4 or 5 different shops or restaurants working out of that same building. If you go over onto the Main Street area where the Mill restaurant is, and down below it in the basement area, there's the Mine restaurant. It's no longer open, but the Mine and the Mill restaurant are there, and that's all that building looks to have with it. But behind the scenes on the back side of that building, there is a second story tunnel that goes across a service road back there, and it leads to, I think, a 3 or 4 story metal building built on the side of the hill. Now, if you're riding Thunderation, the roller coaster track goes right behind that building, but inside that giant building, there's a warehouse, costume shops, um, different management offices. The employee cafeteria is there. There is a huge commercial kitchen there. And we're talking about an industry within a theme park. A lot of the food made in the restaurants is made first in that big commercial kitchen that they have.
Uh-huh.
And there's a huge room where they used to have dishwashers for the Mine and the Mill restaurants. And they had a crew of people washing dishes all day long. And there are other buildings stuck in around Silver Dollar City. It may look like one thing, but they also have 2 or 3 other things going on inside it that most of the guests don't see. If you go down through the Ozark Marketplace and you're walking through the shops down there on the first floor and you look up, there's a bunch of false fronts on the second floor. Back in the day in the 70s and mid to late 70s, there were shops on the second floor. But in the late 70s, early 80s, they converted those shops on the second floor of the Ozark Marketplace to more office space.
Sure.
And so there were entertainment offices and attractions offices and an accounting office up there. And they still utilize that second floor for the offices that are the behind the scenes part of operating the theme park. If you go over to where the ticket booths are on the upper floor of that 2 story building, the entire floor is administration. That's where Jack Hershon used to have his office. That's where Brad Thomas's office is now. He's the current president of the park. And there's public relations people up there and all kinds of different offices to keep the theme park running. So if you know where to look, uh, you'll notice that these little buildings and shops, some of them are not really so little. They're huge buildings with multi-purpose functions.
Uh-huh.
And I discovered that. It came to a shock to me when I was a teenager working there at the park because I'd walk into the front door of the general store, and that's all I thought it was. And then I was working over in the vineyard, what used to be, or what is currently the Wagon Works, used to be called Welch's Vineyard, and our kitchen was part of that building complex there. And when I emptied trash cans as a little busboy at the restaurant way back in those days, I took it out to that commercial trash compactor back there. So there's all sorts of little hidden spots around the park that people don't even think about. Everybody runs to and fro, rides and go into shows today. They don't think about the business that goes on all the time of, operating the park itself. They just think we're in the 1880s and all these silly hillbilly characters are running around and we're going to have a fun day.
You remember when they had the pit out there and they were cooking corn and they were cooking chicken and everything? We went there, and I don't know if it was a promotional deal or whatever, but we had a free meal. And so you could go and you'd get an ear of corn and a roll and, I don't know, something, maybe some beans and a leg quarter, right?
Right. Yeah, it was a quarter of a chicken, or it might have been ribs or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think you could get ribs too. But anyway, we got there kind of as the lunch rush had kind of passed, and he was getting ready, and Dad was talking with the guy, standing there just talking with him for a minute. And he was like, yeah, he was cooking just some astronomical amount of chicken per day.
Oh, yeah. Back in the days when they used to...
like he was cooking 1,000 leg quarters.
Oh, yeah. That would have been pretty standard.
Before noon.
Yeah. But back in those days, they had these big charcoal pits, and they had 2 or 3 guys working at some of the different restaurants on these charcoal pits. They get the fire going real good, and yes, they would cook obscene amounts of chicken quarters and corn on the cob. They would roast the ears of corn out there, and oh man, I don't know. There were 2 or 3 restaurants out there on the park at that time. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, that did that. Down there in the newer section of the park that they call the riverfront now. There used to be a rib house before they built the big barbecue place they got now. And the rib house had one of those charcoal pits set down there. And they made all kinds of beef and chicken. And they made a lot of Polish sausages back then. And it was just fantastic. But, you know, as time passed, the requirements for restaurants in the state changed. And so they had to get rid of the charcoal pits because that was considered not as sanitary as cooking on stainless steel like they do now.
Yeah.
If you go to the park now, they're going to smoke the barbecue stuff in stainless steel smokers that are inside the new barbecue place down there on that riverfront area.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, you know, as time passes, hygiene standards for restaurants change, and so they had to change with it. Again, that's trying to fit in to do business in the modern day.
Yeah. And, you know, they've really done a good job of trying to stick with their theme. You know,
they've tried, and I know there's a lot of people out there who say it's just not the same as it was in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. I totally agree.
Well, nothing is.
Right. Nothing is. I mean,
including our perspective.
I had posted some pictures of the 1960s Silver Dollar City on our SDC fans site here in the last week, and there were several people who complained it's just not like that anymore. They're too commercial. Well, let me tell you something. Theme parks are always commercial. The bottom line is we're going to make money. And if you're not going into our craft shops that we make pottery in, or that we make stained glass in, or that we make weave baskets in, we're going to get rid of those shops because we can't keep them open to lose money. And if you want to buy stuff that's made in Japan or China, we're going to stock our gift shops with that stuff. And unfortunately, the arts and crafts heyday of the 60s and 70s and 80s is long gone. And you can't operate, back in the day, they had a lot more crafts than they have today. Even though they're still known as the home of American craftsmanship. But I mean, they don't have as many craft shops as they used to. Like the basket weaving is gone, the broom making is gone. The reason why it's gone, folks, is because somebody didn't buy a basket or a broom, and they were starting to get to the point where they were on the edge of losing money, so they had to close the shop. And they had to replace it with something else. Where the broom shop used to be years ago is where the taffy shop is. And they sell a vast quantity of taffy every day out there.
My junior high school coach was the broom maker in the 70s.
Exactly. And, in fact, when I was a teenage kid going to high school in the Branson area, over at Reed Springs, they had a Votech, and their Votech had a special crafts division, and they had basket weaving and other crafts that they were teaching to high school kids so they could take jobs in places like Silver Dollar City or Shepherd of the Hills.
That's something.
If you went into the Votech today, they wouldn't have basket weaving anymore. They probably are not going to, have broom making or.
Yeah, no kidding.
The demand for it anymore. It's a vanishing craft, unfortunately. But again, times change. And so theme parks have to change with the times.
Yeah.
It's just it's just the way it is. I mean, if you're not making money, you're losing money. If you're losing money, you're going out of business.
Yeah, truly is.
So anyway, that's why changes occur like that. I mean, even at Six Flags in St. Louis, they used to have a lot of crafts back in the early '70s, but they don't have them anymore, and their gift shops are full of the stuff made in China too. It's just the way of the world, and that's just the way it is.
My brother was master toy maker, and I'm not saying anything out of turn. And he did the demonstration on the front porch of Ezra's toy shop with the old Barnes pedal scroll saw and the Barnes pedal lathe. And he would show stuff, and they'd play checkers and that Skittles game. And then he actually produced some art. I mean, he actually produced some really nice pieces of furniture and stuff as the master toy maker. He also ran a production shop on the backside out of the way of the park, where he could mass produce, checkerboards or whatever the case may be.
Right. Yeah.
He was an industrial arts teacher, so he had a background in.
Yeah. I miss those days like a lot of the other old timers do too. And I wish that they could still do that kind of stuff. The bottom line is they would if it was financially feasible for them. They just can't do it anymore. And I can't blame them. I mean, like I said, you can't operate at a loss.
No, you can't. You gotta keep it out. So before we go, let's go into some questions about ghosts. Now, the last time you were with us, you talked about the ghost in the bakery. Or the mill. I'm sorry, the mill.
Sullivan's Mill reputedly has a ghost. We did talk about that.
But Sullivan's Mill was built on site. It was not transported. So did the ghost come in with the machinery, or did the ghost of somebody who has come and gone since it was built?
Oh, that's a good question. One of their millers a few years ago did a little booklet about the history of Sullivan's Mill out there. Yeah, the mill building itself was new, but the milling equipment that they put inside it did come from a mill on Fall Creek in I think in Taney County.
Huh.
And so the milling equipment was old, and the old burr stones that they used to grind the grain, they were old. I think they were French millstones.
Mm-hmm.
I think the French are known for making high quality millstones for water mills. But the rest of the shop was new, but the building has been there since 1960. And like any old building, it's going to have its creaks, and the floor is going to creak, and the walls are going to creak.
Well, and running machinery in there that long, it's going to rattle stuff loose. I mean,
exactly. And so, when the miller did the book about the history of the mill, he mentioned that there were some maintenance people who would make deliveries in there. Delivery people would make deliveries of their products, and they heard things, and there was a few people who chose not to go in there alone because they were creeped out. So what the legend is there is just exactly what I told you. It doesn't really go into much more detail. Now, we had talked also about a ghost in the old fire in the whole building, and there was a tragic incident back in 1980 when they accidentally routed a train car into the back maintenance area, and there was a man who struck his head and died in that incident. And so there have been rumors about a ghost in the old fire in the whole building since then. But Marvel Cave has.
Isn't the old fire in the whole building now gone?
And the building, when I was on Park in March, it was still there. They're going to redevelop that area eventually. Right now, they're putting their efforts into the Silver Dollar City Resort that's being built in Branson West, and they're putting their resources into the new attraction that they're building between Wildfire and Powder Keg. And so, probably in the next few years, you'll see something new go up on the location of the old Fire in the Hole. But what that is, we'll just have to wait for an announcement before we'll find out there. But in terms of other ghosts legends around the park, I have seen something recently online that has been verified by several either current or former cave guides. They say that the ghost of William Lynch, who originally opened the cave in the 1890s as a show cave, the ghost of William Lynch allegedly haunts the cave. There have been numerous people over the years who have seen his ghost on the steel tower that you enter the cave in. And there was actually somebody who posted a picture of the tower within the last couple of weeks or so, and they had the picture highlighted in one area with a big circle, and they asked people on the internet, do you see a ghost-like figure? And some people said yes, and some people said no.
Well, okay, I saw it, and I mean, I saw the picture on Facebook. Well, I couldn't tell anything. It looked like a flash, like a reflection. It didn't even look like a form, unless I didn't know what I was looking at.
Right? Yeah. Everybody looks at a picture like that and sees something different. So, but all I can tell you is from the rumors that I've heard from cave guides or former cave guides, is they say that they see the ghost of William Lynch down there from time to time. It's a pretty good little folk tale. I have been through the cave many, many times back in the day, and I never personally ever experienced anything there. So I'll just have to go with what the cave guides say and shrug my shoulders and say, okay, that makes for a pretty interesting story.
So I've got a question I'm going to ask you, and you may or may not know this, but let me give you a little bit of background. Some time ago, and some of you may have heard this on the Ozarkian Folk Chronicles, I did a news article on the desire to turn a certain cave associated with the Civil War into a modern day mausoleum, and I think it was called the Mississippi Valley Spiritualist Association. This is like in the early 1890s. We're wanting to basically embalm people and put them in there and have something sort of like the old movie Mondo Connie, where you could walk through and visit, and then everybody would be there for. The spiritualists had had sort of a revelation, like everything's going to rise up, and I say that very, very generally because, as I understand it, that belief was varied amongst spiritualists and at that time. And so I wanted to find more on this story, so I called the owner of said Civil War cave and went through, just visited with him, and I'm not much of a threat, pretty nice guy, and ended up, he was just poo-pooing this. And I'm like, I'm reading it here in the paper. He said, that's just some of those legends. He said, they don't want you to know, but the Lynch sisters used to do seances in Marble Cave.
I've never actually heard that before.
I've never heard it either, but go ahead.
I mean, the cave history does go back to, if you listen to all the cave legends, it goes back to when it was discovered back in the 1500s or so. The Indians were chasing a bear that they were hunting, and the bear and one of the braves fell into the cave entrance, which is a sinkhole entrance. And all they could hear when the other braves gathered around the entrance to the cave was the dripping of water and the flapping of the wings of bats. And so they thought the place was an entrance to hell, and they called it the Devil's Den. Well, move forward in time, there's rumors of ladders that had been found down in the cave, that they were Spanish ladders left from when the conquistadors ran to the Ozarks looking for gold and silver. The plain truth of the matter is,
those conquistadors sure got around, didn't they, Mark?
exactly. That I've read here recently said that if Hernando de Soto and all the conquistadors got around everywhere that they were supposed to be in the Ozarks, there would have been they would have been in the Ozarks instead of for a few years. They would have been in the Ozarks for like 10 years, and there would have been 3 Hernando de Sotos to get around every place that he legendarily was supposed to be.
Even if you take the very best, and we're gonna sidebar here. If you take the very best cream of the crop of the legends, okay, DeSoto would have had to have spent like 5 or 6 years in the Ozarks to get all this done.
Exactly. What history can tell us for sure is Hernando de Soto was in eastern Arkansas, and he came with about 600 men, and some of those men were sent to and fro to check out other areas for treasures and so forth. Some made it to the Missouri Ozarks, some made it to the Arkansas Ozarks up around Batesville and around Searcy and outwards in the Fort Smith area. And, there's dozens and dozens of lost treasure stories about the conquistadors in caves or in different places in the Ozarks, and about 95% of them run true. The plain fact of the matter is, despite all the legends you've heard, gold has never been found in the Ozarks, and the amount of silver found is just a trace amount, usually connected to lead and zinc mining in the state of Missouri.
Yeah, and the bulk of that is over east.
Yes, it's either in the eastern Mississippi River Valley area of Missouri, around Bonne Terre, St. Genevieve, and so forth, or it's in the Joplin area, in the area around the border with Kansas. In Galena, Kansas, they had some lead mines. In Diamond, Missouri, they had lead mines.
Sure.
And so, there might be a little bit of trace silver. One legend with Marble Cave is that Vance Randolph apparently had met an elderly. Vance Randolph was a noted Ozark writer about Ozark folkways, and he alleged in the 20s or the 30s that he met a woman who was of Native American lineage, and she told him that way back when she was a little girl, she and her father would go down into Marble Cave, and there was an area where there allegedly was silver, and her father would mine a little bit of silver, and they would use it for jewelry or to trade with. Uh, Whether that's really true or not, I don't know. But I do know this: they've never found anything more valuable than bat poop in Marble Cave.
Yeah, that's
as far as I know. But I was talking about Spanish ladders being found in Marble Cave, and there were rumors for decades that the Spanish conquistadors were down in Marble Cave looking around. Plain fact of the matter, again, from Vance Randolph, using him as a source, he talked to old timers back in the 20s and 30s and 40s who lived around Marble Cave, and they said if there's ladders down in Marble Cave, they're probably left over from the Civil War days when people would hide in caves to avoid bushwhackers and Union and Confederate soldiers. A lot of the older men or boys that were not old enough to serve would hide out in caves. And so it could be that there were people living down in the cave at one time during the summer.
I'll go you one better. They were mining the back guano to make gunpowder.
That's true. Yes, there was a period of time for about 10 or 12 years where they did mine all the back guano out of Marble Cave. Gunpowder, you could make cosmetics with it. There's all kinds of things you can use guano for. all kinds of products you can use.
I was listening to a deal the other day where Daniel Boone got caught out in Kentucky and made his own gunpowder.
Well, that could be.
And I've heard the process. I don't know if it's so or not, but if you take your own urine and you soak the bat guano, you can get a crude form of saltpeter going.
Right. And the Civil War cave you were talking about, it used to be known as Saltpeter Cave. There were people who went into the cave and got saltpeter to make gunpowder with.
Yeah, you can make it. I wouldn't know how, but you can. You just need a nitrogen source and charcoal and 2 or 3 different things, and you can make her shoot. Now, one of my favorite legends about the cave, and by the way, this is a legend that you can find in various parts of the country, and associated with other caves, maybe in the Ozarks, but I've heard it elsewhere, is that there is a room where all the cats, all the mountain lions and the bobcats and everything, they go in there to finally die and lay up amongst the bones of their ancestors. Have you ever heard that story?
I have. They used to call it the dead animal room. And allegedly there is one of the small side passages where the early explorers of the cave found the bones of different animals that got into the cave. The plain fact of the matter is, if you were a bobcat, a skunk, a possum, a raccoon, a rabbit, and you fell from entrance down the 5 stories to the cave floor, chances are you were going to be dead. But you're not going to believe this when I tell you this, but it is the absolute truth. I understand from some of the cave guides that once or twice a year, when they go down early in the morning to sweep the pathways and turn the lights on, that they will occasionally find a rabbit or a possum or a coon that has fallen through that hole and survived.
Uh-huh.
And I remember either earlier this year or maybe it was sometime last year, got posting on the internet, went down to the cave today and I found a baby raccoon down there. Well, the only way that coon could have got in is either opening up the door to that 5-story tower and going down the steps, or he fell through the hole. And I think that they locked that door at night, so I'm afraid that the raccoon would have had to fall through the hole.
Yeah. Poor little fella.
Story to the cave are that there was a dead animal room that had animal bones in it. I don't really. Probably.
Randolph said it's a cat room and that the mountain lions and go to lay up amongst the bones of their ancestors.
Yeah, they could be. Who knows? Anyway, one thing I do know about the cave is all the water that drips down into that cave. They've put dye in it before. If to get to the bottom of the cave and you go where that waterfall room is, there's a pool of water below the waterfall. In past years, they've thrown some dye in that pool of water, and about 2 or 3 days later, you go down on Indian Creek on Table Rock Lake, and that dye has made its way down to Table Rock Lake.
I'll be darned.
It takes about 2 or 3 days to funnel down through there.
I'll be darned.
But yeah, they've done that in the past. And so you definitely know that any rainwater that comes down into that cave, seeping through the ground or whatever, it's eventually going to wind up in Table Rock Lake.
Yeah. That's always everything flows downhill, doesn't it?
It sure does. And all that Table Rock Lake water winds up in the Mississippi and eventually in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, it sure does. Well, Mark, is there anything else about Silver Dollar City that you want to share with us?
Well, it's been an Ozark tradition for over 65 years. People have vacationed there. It has grown dramatically over the years. It's not the same place it was back in 1960 as it is today. But you know what? My feeling is, as a former employee and as a guy who's been a guest there since I was 7 years of age, and I'm now in my mid 60s, the park, even though it's changed over the years and it's not quite the same, it's still a very good, high quality theme park, a good place to go for a day with your family. And I'll be honest about it, when I was on the park in March, it has now grown to such a size that this old guy can now walk around the park like I did when I was a teenager. It takes me a long time to get around that park. I'm going to sit down on some benches and drink a Coca Cola before I make it all the way back up to the next. It's a huge theme park and it's going to continue to grow. The big news we're going to be watching for in mid August, I think on August 14th, Silver Dollar City is going to make an official statement about some of the new things coming to the park. They're probably going to make some kind of announcement about this new attraction they're building between Wildfire and Powder Keg, and they're probably going to make some big announcements concerning the Silver Dollar City Resort, which they are diligently working on right now in order to try to get it open early, I believe, next year.
Okay.
So these are the big projects that they're working on right now. They may make some announcements regarding the end of Wildfire. This is Wildfire's last season, and maybe they will redevelop that area with a different attraction in years to come. I don't know if they're going to mention anything about it now or if that'll be something we'll see later. Also, as we were talking about, the old fire in the whole location is going to be redeveloped at some point. We don't know exactly when. Maybe in mid August, we'll hear something about that. Right now, it's all just speculation. And, I'm an old insider at the park, but I'm at the point in my life where I only know what the public relations folks release as well. So we'll just have to wait with bated breath to mid August to see what new and exciting things are going to be happening on that park in the coming year.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. And Mark, real quickly, tell us one more time how folks can follow you, how they can follow for more information on Silver Dollar City, and where can they get your book, including Every Hilltop, Every Holler.
Sure. All right.
Hollow, not holler. I Ozarkified your title there, dude.
If you want to find out more about Silver Dollar City from the unofficial Silver Dollar City fan page, go to SDC Fans, and it's a group Facebook page, capital SDCF, and then in the lowercase ANS, and it's like I said, the unofficial Facebook page. Everything to do about Silver Dollar City, from its history to what's currently going on in the park. Things are posted every day by myself and others. And you can find out all kinds of things about Silver Dollar City there. And if you're interested in my books, you can go to Amazon. Again, my name is spelled Mark Kumming, M-A-R-K, last name Kumming. Type in my name in your search engine on Amazon and put behind my name books, and a long list of my books will pop up. And that's where you'll find Every Hilltop, Every Hollow, as well as the other books on Ozark's history, or Rube Dugan's Diving Bell connected with Silver Dollar City, or Hee Haw Theater, or some of the other books that I do, like short stories, children's stories, poetry, whatever you're interested in, photography. Like I said, I've got about 50 titles there, and check out those titles on Amazon. If you find a topic that you're interested in, please feel free to buy a copy. I will appreciate it from my financial heart all the way to you. I send you love.
John, we ain't getting a cut off this, so it all goes to Mark. One of the, I had something I thought of that was real nice to say right there, but I don't remember what it was. at any rate, check out Mark's. Oh, I was going to ask you, Ken, if you have pictures of Silver Dollar City that you took at home and you want to post them on one of those Facebook groups, do they welcome that or?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Some people can, depending on how they have their stuff set up on their Facebook, they can contribute something directly to the page, or if they need to, they can message the administrators of the page and load their photos in that way. And we'll try to download them to our phones or to our computers and get them out on the internet. We'll try to give credit where credit is due. And we thank you in advance for any photographs that you might have taken on the park that you want to share. And, again, it's just a way for people who are fans of the park to keep up with what's going on out there currently, or if you've got old pictures from decades ago, you want to share with everybody likes the nostalgia connected with the old days at the park. So either way, we're glad to see the pictures.
All right. Well, Mark, I want to thank you for joining us this evening. Folks, check out his books. They're fun reads. They're great for if you're traveling or if you need that extra bathroom reading material. They're there. Maybe you don't want to be identified with bathroom reading material, Mark. I don't know, but that's where a lot of reading happens.
As long as you're buying a book, I'm not where you read it.
If you've enjoyed this episode, give us a like and share it on Facebook, especially among the home folks. They'll thank you and love you more for it. Be sure to follow us over on Facebook for additional content and information. And I really want to thank, we are now over 1,000 followers. And we are really picking up traction on Spotify and on Apple. We've got some amazing reviews from you, the listener. I want to thank you so much for those, because it really helps out and it helps us grow and improve the podcast. So once again, from the bottom of my heart, a big thank you for supporting local podcasting. This is the regional journalism. Those magazines that we grew up with, the regional magazines, they're gone, mostly gone. And so this is the new magazine. This is the new, I don't know how else to describe it other than we're doing local stories, local journalism right here, bringing people like Mark and his stories of Silver Dollar City. You're not going to hear it on KY3. You're going to hear it here. At least if you do in KY3, it's going to be 2 minutes long. So no, not picking on KY3, but it's a different format. So we appreciate all of your support. Thank you again very much for supporting what we do. If you've got a story that's too good to keep, we'd like to hear it. Drop us a line at wildinwoolly, that's WOOLLY, Ozarks, @gmail.com. Reach out to us, let us know. If you've got some local legend or question, or you just want to say hi, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. If you haven't checked out our past episodes, please do so. I've got one up. By the time this is done, we'll have one with my friend Danette House, where we talk about old sayings and old language of the Ozarks. It's a great episode. Another one, actually not my podcast, but Nancy Simpson at the Toll has an interview with the former Greene County Sheriff on Gypsy Rose Blanchard. So, yeah, check that out if you followed that, if you've been following that little trail of things. Also, we have a robbery. No, we don't. We have a bank robber one coming up. I've got a couple of murders I want to do too. So look forward to those episodes. Check out the ones you've missed. And if you if you're getting, I should have said this at the beginning rather than the end. If you're starting with this one, be sure and go back and look at some of those other ones, like Mark Kumming. If you like true crime, look at our interview with Amber Vance or Buried Treasure. Check out our interview with Rob Meyer on treasure misinformation, so to speak. It's a great episode. Thank you. And I want to thank some other people. If you like our new format and hear that music, that's pretty music, ain't it? That's our friend Paul Hambrick, friend producer, and all-around Renaissance man. He's the one that keeps this thing bolted together. I'm very thankful to have a collaborator like him. Also, by the way, and like a further legal jargon, the Wild and Woolly Ozarks is a creation of Jared Crawford, the Heron Boys, and myself. And Paul Hambrick. Currently, it is on lock, stock, and barrel by Klein Champion Aaron III. This is an old script. Any reproduction is unlawful, and of course, if you act nice, don't appear nuts, crazy, criminal, vindictive, chances I'll give you permission. Currently, we are, if for every acre of timber you clear of brush, we'll let you use 2 minutes of podcast material. That's my trade. That's my terms. Please follow the rules, lest I have to call out the ball knobbers. Well, until next time, y'all be careful. And boys, if you would, please be good to the tourists. Bye now.